Hello there. I'm in a car. Isn't that fun? Because this video is about CarPlay and Android Auto. Yeah. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of a better intro. It's clear that CarPlay has been growing at an absolutely unprecedented rate. I mean, 98% of new cars in the US have CarPlay. But then what about the other two, plus every other car on the road? But not to fret, for there are multiple options for CarPlay out there, no matter what car you have. So this video is kind of like a guide on what to expect from all types of aftermarket CarPlay solutions. And if you use Android Auto, then whenever I say CarPlay, just substitute that for Android Auto because they're pretty much the same thing and they work the same way. All right, let's go. Oh, don't worry, I'm not actually driving. I'm not allowed to do that just yet. There are some cars where you need to connect a wire for you to use CarPlay. And obviously this can get a bit annoying. Sometimes you just want to chuck your phone wherever in your car and still have CarPlay work just fine. And so if that's the case with your car, then the solution you want is a wireless CarPlay adapter. Most importantly, the price. You can get these CarPlay adapters from around $50 to $75 in the US. And so you'll take the CarPlay adapter that's like half the size of your phone, plug it into the USB port in your car, and never see it again. So you'll take your phone and connect it to the CarPlay adapter with Bluetooth, and that's about it. Then it shows up on your screen and works exactly how it did before. Well, actually, not exactly. There is slightly more lag than if you use it with a wire just because it's over Bluetooth. Like, if you play a song, it'll start playing 2 seconds after you hit the play button. That's nothing to do with the CarPlay adapter itself, it's just the consequence of using Bluetooth instead of a cable. But if you clicked on this video, then your car probably doesn't have CarPlay at all. So what do you choose? Well, the cheapest options are the portable CarPlay screens. These screens can be in the price range of anywhere from $50 to $300, but you'll mostly see them located within $75 to $150. So these screens are made to be used in any car, no matter what model you have, and they'll work as long as you have a power source. That's literally the only requirement. Actually, you can pretty much put these screens anywhere. Like, you could set this up in your room if that's what you fancy. So the setup process is actually insanely simple. You take the screen, plug it into a power source in your car, it'll turn on, you connect your phone to the screen via Bluetooth, and then also plug in an aux cable if you wish, and that's it. That's literally it. Oh yeah, and then it would also be a good idea to, mount it so that it doesn't fall down next to the gear shifter halfway on your drive to the supermarket. In terms of general design and dimensions, a lot of the more expensive ones are really sleek, subtle, thin, and then the cheaper ones look like they've had too much KFC to eat in the past month. But don't freak out, all across the board, bezels are thin enough such that it won't become a problem. They're not as thin as the bezels on your iPhone or your iPad, definitely not. Now, the display is one of the main parts of using CarPlay, so of course you'd want it to be good. So in terms of size, these screens can be anywhere from 7 inches to like 10.25. But I just want to give a bit of a warning. Sometimes if you choose the 10.26 inch option, you are not going to get a 10.26 inch screen. It's going to be closer to around 9.3. Why? I do not know. Like, this isn't a Tinder situation. You can manufacture your screens to be 10.26 inches. Now with resolution, you're pretty much never going to get a resolution of 1080p. It's usually going to be anywhere from 720p to 900p. But take it from me, the lower resolution is not at all noticeable. I've not found myself once looking at these screens thinking, man, I wish it was higher quality. The color reproduction on these screens is okay. Like, it's not that bad. On most of these screens, the colors are a little too blue, a little too contrasty, but other than that, there isn't really an issue. Now with the glare issue, because obviously there's going to be situations where the sun is right behind you, shining right into the car. On the non-laminated screens, you need to bump the brightness up by a lot, and on the laminated screens, it's slightly better, but it's still not a matte coating, so it's not like a night and day difference. It's just that the laminated displays are a little better to use because they minimize the gap between your finger and the screen. That's it for the display, but we also play music, we also play podcasts, we also play audiobooks while we're driving. So what about audio? If you're using the inbuilt speakers on these CarPlay screens, you're not going to be very impressed. These speakers sound so awful. They are tinny, they lack any bass. It feels like an eagle trying to sing you a song. It's not pretty. Yeah, I think a more accurate way to describe it is like the sound you get from call center hold music. If you're planning on using an aux cable, it really couldn't be more self-explanatory. Plug one end of your aux cord into the screen, another end into the audio jack in your car, and that's it. I did have an experience with one CarPlay screen where if I would try to use aux, it would just play this strange crackling noise. So if you get an issue that affects the sound while using aux, return the screen for another unit. And I would really recommend that you buy these screens on Amazon, because maybe you may not like one screen and you'll want another one, and returns with Amazon are a lot easier than returns directly with a seller. These screens also have a Bluetooth mode. Basically how this works is when you connect your phone to the CarPlay screen, no audio is sent to the CarPlay screen. So then you can connect your phone to your car's Bluetooth and play audio through there. And so you can get rid of the aux cord and also use controls on your steering wheel. So if your steering wheel has a way to skip a song or rewind a song, you can use that. However, this may not be ideal for, say, families who have multiple different phones, because then you'll have to keep on reconnecting, disconnecting phones from the car system. And so every time another person steps in the car, it's just going to be a big hassle. But if your car doesn't have Bluetooth, doesn't have aux, and you don't want to hear the nasty inbuilt speakers, these screens also have an FM transmitter. And so these screens can send CarPlay audio through your desired channel. And so if I, let's say, set my screen to play audio through 87.9 megahertz, I can tune into that frequency on my car system and I will hear the audio playing. The FM transmitter isn't always the best. Sometimes it's low quality, sometimes there's weird FM static artifacts, sometimes the audio will spaz out if you get close to another car. But it's an option. Personally, I use aux. So this is the test of the microphone on one of my CarPlay screens. On some CarPlay screens, the microphone can be a little quieter than others, but if you can successfully decipher what I'm saying right now, then the microphone has achieved its purpose. Another big thing I don't hear a lot of people talk about is the volume adjustment situation. So if you, let's say, have navigation turned on, and it's giving you turn-by-turn directions, and you're also playing music on top of that, it should be that when a new direction comes up, your music lowers its volume and the directions take center stage. And then the volume of your music goes back up. Now these screens have two possible ways of handling this. Either they won't have a menu for adjusting media, navigation, phone volume at all, and so more often than not, the navigation volume is lower than the volume of your music. And so you'll have to keep increasing the volume, and then decreasing the volume, and then increasing it again, and decreasing it again. But some screens have a menu where you can adjust the volume of your media, navigation, phone calls, and so if you want, you can set your music to be very quiet, and your navigation to destroy your ears. So actually, the experience of using CarPlay can vary from one screen to another. First of all, the lag. On the cheaper screens, you are pretty much never going to get a smooth experience. It's going to be around 20 FPS, I'd say, or probably even less. This doesn't make CarPlay unusable. Some people don't mind it. I personally kind of don't. But it's not going to be particularly pleasant to look at. It's definitely not going to be as smooth as your phone screen. The more expensive screens, however, tout that they have 60 FPS CarPlay. If you want to see an example of how 60 FPS CarPlay actually looks like, this is your example. I've specifically set this video to 60 FPS so you can see how it actually looks like. Here's a comparison with a cheaper screen. And slowed down. The connection experience usually is pretty simple. When the CarPlay screen starts up, it'll try to connect to your phone via Bluetooth and CarPlay will immediately show up. The issue is when another person gets into the car and wants to use CarPlay. So the way that you'd switch the user of CarPlay goes like this. On phone A, which is currently connected to CarPlay, turn off Bluetooth and turn on Wi-Fi. On phone B, which is the new phone that you want to connect, go to Bluetooth and connect to the screen. Then on phone A, turn on Bluetooth. It's not as simple as I'd like it to be, but at least there's a way. So in addition to CarPlay, these screens have a couple other modes, the most notable one being AirPlay screen mirroring. And so you can just connect to the screen's Wi-Fi network and screen mirror your phone onto the CarPlay screen. Which means if you really wanted to, you could watch one of my videos on these CarPlay screens. Keep in mind you won't be able to screen mirror protected content, so if you were planning to watch an Apple TV Plus show, or a Netflix show, or Hulu, then sorry, you can't. And also, don't be stupid, don't use this while driving, only while you're parked. Now with these screens, since they don't have any connection with the wires inside your car, apart from buttons on the steering wheel and any volume adjustment buttons or knobs, you won't be able to use any of the buttons in the car. So like for example, I can't use the BMW scroll wheel to control the CarPlay screen. So to control the screen, your two forms of input are the touchscreen and your voice with Siri. So after all this, what screens do I recommend if you want a portable CarPlay screen? Well, right now I'm using a Podofo CarPlay screen, which I'll put in the description. It's around $70 on Amazon, and while it does have some flaws, none of them are big enough that I would stop using the screen. If you have the extra money to spend, go for the CarPod Go T3 Pro CarPlay screen. It's much sleeker, it has a 60 FPS screen, it's laminated. Now there are some major cons of portable CarPlay screens in general, no matter which one you pick. First of all, a lot of them have an ear-wrecking boot-up sound, and on this Podofo screen, I have found no way to turn it off. At all. The stock software on these screens is pretty poorly designed. It's not a pleasure to use at all. But you are buying these screens for the use of CarPlay, so it's not much of an issue. Some of these screens don't have an auto-dimming feature, and so the consequence of this is maybe your screen will be fine during the day and it'll blind you at night, or it'll be fine at night and be too dark during the day. Some of these screens have a sensor for auto-dimming, and others just have an auto-dimming feature on a time basis. So the screen will dim when it hits 6 o'clock or something. Some screens don't have the right mounting tool, like for example this car ABC screen. It had a windshield mount, but no mount that went onto the dashboard. Actually, since we already have an upright head unit, we just decided to put 3M Velcro tape on it. And all of these screens can block your original head unit. So if you don't want these screens to block the original head unit, then you'll have to go for the second option. This second option is for the car-specific CarPlay screens. I don't know if this is a surprise to you or not, but there are manufacturers out there that make CarPlay screens that are supposed to replace the original head unit in your car. And so this process involves taking parts out of your car, fiddling with wiring to connect the head unit, removing the original one, and then putting all the parts back together. I know damn well that that is not a process I want to do, but hey, there are benefits to doing it. Since these screens replace the original head unit, they look a lot cleaner than the portable CarPlay screens. Because after you're finished, it basically looks like you haven't replaced anything, except now your screen has CarPlay. And fun fact, these screens are also built to display the original software of your car's head unit. And so now you've basically got a 2-in-1 screen. You'd really be insanely lucky if you found one of these screens for below $200. Usually these screens are around $200 to $400, and so if that's not in your budget, then these screens are not for you. These screens will more or less be the same size as your original head unit. Colors and resolution for $200 are not going to be a problem. Since I don't have these screens, I can't say anything about glare and lamination. Audio will either involve plugging your phone into aux or connecting your phone to this CarPlay screen's Bluetooth. Because these screens are so expensive, your CarPlay screen shouldn't have any lag. And guess what? Every single button in the car is available for you to use with CarPlay. So I can take this BMW scroll wheel and use it to control my screen. It is heaven. Alright, sorry, I had to come back inside. It was too cold out there. But I wanted to get to the last option, which I want to refer to as the official aftermarket screens. So I didn't actually know this until recently, but if you go onto Apple's CarPlay website and you scroll all the way down, you'll see a few big name manufacturers that make their own replacement CarPlay screens. We're talking about brands like Sony, JVC, Pioneer, and I know you know these brands. But if you're just focused on CarPlay, then I really don't see the point of buying these screens. I mean, really the only thing that these screens have going for them is their stock software doesn't suck, they have some physical buttons, and they work with every car. But these benefits don't come cheap. You're paying like $400 for a 7-inch screen. Like, just keep in mind, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is 6.9 inches. And on the road, the last thing you want to be doing is squinting at your maps, because like, that's a genuine hazard. So only under very, very, very specific circumstances would I recommend you go and buy one of these screens. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. I hope this was helpful to you and valuable, and I hope that you'll be able to take what you've learned in this video and extend your research from here on out. So thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and also comment down below what you thought, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!